What's up guys, welcome back to the HQ. We are back here today. It's still raining, so I'm still trying to film in between raining because it's really loud in the shed when it rains. But anyway, as you can see, the cross member modification's all painted up, ready to go. We're going to chuck this engine back in. Fingers crossed it still clears everything. Pretty sure it will. I'm going to pull this diff back apart, get it ready to go back down to get sorted out, and we'll keep on keeping on with the build. Alright, got a little bit of break in the rain, but got a bit wet unloading the new job for this week. Anyway, with this now fitting, with our cross member welded up, it's time to clean up the sump because that's how it's going to get welded up now. That's all the cutting and stuff that needs to happen. So Rex will properly degrease and cut it up. Hopefully our new welding rods that I've been talking about arrive today so that we can weld this thing up. We ordered a whole heap of stuff from Welding Supplies Oz, or Oz Welding Supplies. Heap of new stuff with the TIG, new cups and stuff, so excited to try out some new gear. Not me, obviously, because I can't alley weld for crap, but Rex. Anyway.
We still need to do some drilling and sorting stuff out. Turbo drain, sump plug, oil temp
Sender.
Oil temp port.
Yeah, there's still a few things to do. But either way, it can get cleaned up so that we can do all that now. Oh yeah, next week's job. Looking good. Alrighty guys, got the diff all pulled apart and got the housing ready to go next week. So that's awesome, that's just about ready. Rex having to play around with this column, trying to figure it out and get it right. We had another change of plans. We decided not to weld up the sump at the moment because we really want to wait for these new welding rods. So without going into too much detail on the nerdy metallurgy side of it, essentially with these new rods, there'd be a far less chance of these welds potentially cracking. Is basically why we'd really like to wait for them. Not only do we think the welds will be nicer looking, but it just would make it a little bit stronger. And being that these sumps on these Barras do tie in all the main caps, they are somewhat quite a structural part of the engine. Not that I think it'd make too much difference for how hard we really want to push this thing. It's not pushing a Barra block too hard to the point where it'd be wanting to twist, I don't think, but it's still just, we'd rather wait until we've got the right rods to do it properly. So what we did is Rex took the actual engine, I don't know where it is now. Anyway, he took it outside and just gurneyed the hell out of it. Oh, it's over there in the corner. So we literally just gurneyed the crap out of it. We thought about pulling it down, but because we want Ryan to make us a fan shroud, we sort of need to have the oil pump and the balancer and everything on it, which means the crank has to be in it. So we weren't really going to be able to achieve much by just pulling it down. So Rex just literally took it outside and just gurneyed the hell out of it. All underneath, all up in the engine case. Everything's just been gurneyed and degreased to try and get all the oil out of it. And that's just to try and stop it from dripping oil all over like Ryan's workshop when it's there and stuff. That's all we want to essentially do. It's the only real reason that we needed to weld that sump up was so that it wouldn't leak oil all over other people's workshops. So we'd rather sort of leave the sump for now, gurney the hell out of this and just try and have it clean so it doesn't drip oil in. BarraTheWorld.com have found us an FG cover. They went to the wreckers today and managed to source us an FG cover and everything else, so it'll be on the way. So that's freaking awesome. Stoked with that. So big thank you to BarraTheWorld.com. So Rex has got this column mostly together. What we've pretty much decided is that we're going to have to make our own lever for how this is going to have to be situated in the car and what we've got to do as far as distances go for our Turbo 400 selector. This lever's just probably not going to work. We'll have a better look once we get the column actually in the car. We've also got the banjo back in the car. So old banjo's back in so that we can chuck some wheels on this thing and it'll be back rolling again. The other advantage of having this done now is we've got the handbrake hooked up again. And the handbrake in this car actually works. And obviously with the brakes disconnected and everything else, there's no foot brake and with no tail shaft or anything hooked up to the gearbox, there's no park or anything. So if we did have the 9-inch in it, there would have been no kind of brake or anything to stop the car, which can be a bit of a pain when you got it in a workshop. So this is somewhat what the new bracket is going to look like. We're just sort of trying to figure out how we can go about cutting this out of this plate. We really need like a mill or something. Anyway, we'll figure it out. Plenty of swearing. So that's sort of where it's up to, and that's where this plate has to come around to actually get, or this bracket I should say, to actually work with what we want to do here. So this is all Rex's maths for all the stuff he had to figure out, and he was bloody right. he was bang on, and it bloody works. It's freaking awesome. It's obviously there's still a bit of screwing around to do with it, and obviously we have to paint that bracket and make it all nice and sort of get it perfectly right. But where that's tightened up now is pretty damn close, and from inside, when you operate the column shifter, like the indicators all pretty much work. Your first, second, third, neutral, reverse is all bang on the indicator, all the gates are perfect, and that's gonna be freaking awesome. So that's how you do column shift T400, boys and girls. It's gonna be gangster as. So we'll finish off that bracket, but the important thing was that it's in there. So that's why Rex busted us today to get it happening. We'll have a little keeper just on the tunnel just to keep the cable secure, and we'll probably heat sleeve the cable, but it's just important for it to be there so that Ryan, when he builds the exhaust, the dump pipe and everything, has, you know, knows where to go, and knows that all this is in the car where it's got to be so that he can work around it with the fab. Righto guys, Saturday morning, we're back here to work on this thing. So we got this shifter sorted out yesterday, and you know, it is just an old Holden column shifter. And at the end of the day, it is just really a really old school thing. It's not a performance-based shifter, and there is nothing to stop you with the shifter from going from first all the way over to neutral. Like there's a gate here which sort of somewhat gives you some sort of guide in the car, but there's nothing to actually stop you from going even to reverse from first all the way up.
But you can go from low to park.
Yeah,
anywhere in
all the way around. You can just go all the way around. And Rex knows for a fact what it's like to steer one of these things when you're pretty busy, and it's not ideal. Even with the old T-bars, you can go straight up into neutral, and it's not ideal when you're busy on the wheel and you're trying to change gears and there's nothing to sort of solidify or lock it into the gear that you're trying to hunt for, and it can cause damage, particularly in gearboxes and stuff. It's not a good thing to, you know, if you're doing a power skid or something, you go on for third and you go straight into neutral, it's not going to be good for the gearbox. It's not going to be good for anything really. So that presents a bit of an issue that we're not too stoked about. You know, it'd be all right just to chuck it in drive and cruise around, but if you ever want to get into it, it's going to be a problem. So we came up with this idea that we've been talking about potentially doing, and that is to manufacture a better gate system, get rid of this, make something that's a bit shorter, and actually make like a Z gate, so that the shifter, even though it's column shift, it'll be properly gated in that you can only go one gear at a time, and that way when you're busy on the wheel and you got to change gears, you can just smack it up, know that you're going to get one gear, that's it. You know, rather than being busy on the wheel and trying to make sure that you only shift one gear with the column, because if you just smack it up, the potential to go second, third, neutral is there, which is obviously not good at all. So it's a lot of screwing around. I've talked to the owner about it. Things like this is stuff that obviously when we quoted the job, or when we gave a somewhat of an estimate of the job, that you don't think about. You don't think you're going to have to do. There's been a fair bit of it this job, so a lot of this stuff is probably going to blow the job out, but it's going to make the car so much better for it. Particularly, you know, 600 wheel horsepower H series Holden. They're not exactly, when you're into it, they're a bit of work. You're pretty busy in one of these things if you're doing that sort of thing. So our idea for this is pretty much just a simple Z gate. It's what most off-road racers use when they're running autos in off-road trucks and stuff. A lot of the Ultra 4 guys that we've tuned for and that, they use them, and it's exactly as it implies. It's just a Z gate. So that's it. As you can see, it's quite simple. So the reason that we have to replace this piece here is because the width of that, pretty hard to see in there with the camera, but the width of that is actually wider than the distance of a gear shift. So we couldn't make it work with that piece. It has to be smaller than a gear shift for this to work. Obviously, it's just going to take quite a bit of time and stuff to get right, but it'd be pretty cool in this thing to be smacking through gears of the drag strip of the column shift. I think it'd be fairly unique and fairly cool. So again, though, it's not like a full manual valve body in this Turbo 400. It is still auto, so you can bring it around into third and it'll just cruise around like a regular auto. All right, so we've come across an issue with our idea. Well, we've also come up with a solution. So the issue is that the distances on the gear changes are way too short for this to really work. There's only like 8 mil between pretty much there and there in this setup. So in order to have this gate system work with the short distance between gear changes, the rod would have to be like that. Like it'd have to be tiny for that to work, which is just not ideal. So what we decided to do is probably leave this as it is in the car and pretty much work this further away from the shifter until it's at a point where we've got enough distance to have a gate system that works. So what that's going to mean...
Thinking about it in my head, I think we just have to go double.
Double.
So I've worked out, it's around about 8 mil between shifts, and I'm going to pick just 8 mil, an 8 mil rod, because I feel like that'd be
plenty strong enough.
If that's the case, if we go to double that distance,
yep,
it should be double between them, which is 16. So with an 8 mil rod, that gives us 4 mil
to work with.
No, it doesn't actually. No, it doesn't. Might have to go to a 6 mil rod, which would give us 4 mil gates.
Yeah.
Well, 4 mil in between each one, which would be enough.
That'll be heaps.
Yeah, that'll work.
Essentially what we're doing is, just moving this away from the column so that it makes it bigger. Further away we get the radius, the bigger it gets. So it means that that's probably going to stay. It sort of actually works in our favor almost. So what it means is that all of this stays. Rex's bracket that he made stays, all of that stays. We don't have to remake this. This is what we actually rely on for the shifts, which stays nice and strong, and we know it works, which is awesome. And what we're going to do is basically, as this bolts onto there, make another bit with our 6 mil rod that bolts to it as well, that comes straight off, or maybe we weld it to this bracket, I don't know, we'll figure something out. And then build our gate out here, and this all happens underneath the gate, and you've got your little rod that just has gates on the very outside. So it might look a bit funny being this far out, but I think by the time there's a dump pipe and our gate, and it's going to be plumbed back in as well, all our hot side going on, and the the steering shaft and everything back in here, I don't think it's going to really draw too much attention to itself. Guys, this is what we've come up with. It'll be first, second, you'll have to pull the lever back towards you in the car to go up into third. It'll lock. It'll go back and you'll be able to go up into neutral. Then you've got to pull it back towards you. You can go into reverse and you can go up and then into park, and then that's the way the spring's naturally pushing the lever, so it's safest for the park to be that way. We did originally have it going into reverse and then back and then up into park, but then you're just going up into park and it's not locking because of the way the spring's pushing on the column. So we figured reverse doesn't really need a stop. It's not like you're going to be slamming in and out of reverse. You shouldn't be moving that hard or having that much trouble. You should be able to just put it into reverse. So that's why we decided to go straight across. So this is our actual scaled 1-to-1 drawing of the concept. So we're going to pretty much make this out of some 50 mil plate at the moment, or bar. So we're going to have a go at making it, seeing what we can do with it. We've got a pretty good idea of exactly how we're going to go about it. And at the moment, we're just going to make it in-house as a proof of concept, make sure it's going to actually work the way we want it to work. And depending on how the final product is, if we're not 100% happy with it, but it works, we'll talk to someone else about actually sort of laser cutting this piece out instead of what we've done here. Righto guys, so as soon as we finished bending that gate up yesterday, we actually had some mates drop in and we ended up busy for the rest of the day doing other stuff. So we're back here this morning getting back into the HQ. It's got to go to fabrication tomorrow, so it's pretty much today's get everything back into the car, get it ready to go. So starting off the morning, Rex is going to finally, as we've been talking about for a few days now, clean the underneath of this. Gross. Yuck. Oh, much nicer. Much better. How good. Time to finish off our gate setup. Try and get this to work. So for now, for this proof of concept, this is what we're going to use as the rod for the gate. So it's just an M6 bolt which perfectly threads into a 16x10 lug, which is the right size to bolt. Exactly where our bracket goes up here, which should be just enough to get us to make sure, just to see if this is actually going to work. In the meantime, we've also received a box of goodies from the owner. So here is our bare new brake master cylinder and brake bias, which is to suit the disc brakes all round. So the master cylinder he's got in there at the moment is just to suit the disc brake front and still the drum rear. This is the one we need for when it's disc all round, so that's going to look freaking awesome in there, in the engine bay. It's going to look great, and having that adjustable brake bias means we should be able to mostly delete or at least remake and move that brake distribution block that's in there. So I think we should be able to delete it, but we'll have a better look at that a bit later on. Also in here we have a power steering box for a H series, so we'll be able to replace that power steering box with this one. Alright guys, so this is prototype 1. So we're in park. Oh, third, second. Yeah, that bolt's just not quite going through it.
Fuck, it works neat though.
Works good?
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Oh hell yeah, boy! The concept. Flapping works. Oh hey there! Go on, do a little, show us how it goes.
So that's in park, right?
Yep.
And that's the natural state, so it's back.
Yep.
That's reverse.
Yep.
Neutral.
Yep.
Drive. Second. And that would be low. So then you come up to second.
Yep.
Third.
Yep.
Neutral. Reverse. Park. So it works.
We'll be slamming gears, mate.
Fucking banging gears all day.
Let's give this a bloody test drive, eh? Oh, yep, reverse, neutral, stops. Third, stops. Second, stops. And we'll go down to low and stop. To be smacked up, back, smacked up. Can't go any further, back, neutral, back, reverse, park. That's freaking cool, boys.
It works.
That is cool.
Definitely works. And close to being a proper radius and round, it's actually not too bad.
It's the best we can do with what we've got. But the fact is,
it works.
The idea works.
Yeah.
Our job is to come up with the idea.
That would totally work. If we get that made properly, that will totally work.
What a relief to know that that wasn't all a waste of time. That's freaking sick. So obviously it just needs revising and to be manufactured properly out of something that's nice, not us air hacksawing and drilling out a bit of flat bar in the shed. You know, as much as it works, it's just a matter of proving the concept. So I've downloaded Fusion 360. I haven't used CAD since I was at uni. I don't think Rex has used CAD since he was at uni. So we have a lot of brushing up to as far as our skills and knowledge goes on using AutoCAD and stuff like that, but the plan is to actually get this designed up in Fusion so that we can send it to someone and get it actually manufactured properly and precisely with something that looks decent as well. So who knows, maybe we'll even offer it as a kit for people out there who have column shifts. It should work as long as the gates are right. We might have to do some R&D with someone who's got a column shift with like a Trimatic and a power glide, just to make sure we get the gates right. But there's no reason that this kit wouldn't universally work with most Holden columns, so we might even put it on the market as a an actual kit. But anyway, that's for a later date. For now, it's going to work for this thing, so we'll work on brushing that up. But I think that's enough for an episode. We're going to sign this one off here. Thank you for watching. As always, smash like, smash subscribe, head to the merch shop, buy yourself some merch, or go to the part shop, buy yourself some parts. You know, it all helps us in the long run. So thank you for watching. Share the build with a friend. We'll see you next one. Peace out. See you. Bye.